Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all my colleagues around the world. My name is Rhett Jeffries. I'm very glad to be here and to launch this 2021 version of the GlobalX Challenge. With me, I have Mr. Felipe Reich, who is our Strategic Communications Specialist, and he will be following me later on in the presentation. So it's a great pleasure to talk to you today. We're going to first give a quick overview, but before I forget, I wanted to mention, if you look on your screen at the lower left-hand side, there's a box there that you can enter in questions. Now, we'll be addressing some of the questions later on as we go forward in this presentation, but don't wait. You don't have to wait until the end to ask your questions. Go ahead and send them in there, type them in there, and we'll try to address them at the end of our presentation. And with that, Felipe, could I have the next slide, please? So what I want to do is briefly give an overview of who we are, what we do, just to have, so some of you may not be aware of what the Office of Naval Research Global does, ONR Global for short. This slide talks about what we refer to as the Naval Research Enterprise. The first thing to note is there's 4,000 people. These are researchers throughout the naval enterprise, and includes the Office of Naval Research, the headquarters building in Washington, D.C. area, ONR Global, which is us around the world, deployed around the world, as well as the Naval Research Laboratory and all their locations around the U.S. And what we try to do is we look at lots of different kinds of technologies, a wide range, anything from very basic research to very applied. You can see on the left-hand side where we show the basic research where risk can be a lot higher in basic research and early applied research, because it's really opened up to try to find what's new and innovative, revolutionary, potentially game-changing ideas, and that's what we really want to do. And so that research is funded, and we also do that in ONR Global for researchers around the world, not just limited to U.S. researchers. Next slide, please. At a glance, ONR Global, we have 6 departments. You can see them listed there. In our international science program, we have science directors that are deployed around the world to 7 different sites, and I'll show you where those are. The other departments that we showed there are really there to help connect. We all try to connect researchers with good ideas from around the world to the Navy where they can be most applicable. And those departments range in different activities that they do, and it can be from very early applied research like we do with science directors all the way up to very applied in experiments and in foreign comparative testing. Our mission, next slide please, is really to be the enduring global presence around the world, and to interact with the researchers and the science and technology specialists around the world, and to connect them, to develop trusted partnerships, and become the partner of choice for science and technology. Next slide. So here, as I promised, we have showing where our sites are for where our science directors reside around the world. You can see we're trying to be in locations where the top science and research is being done around the world. So you can see from this picture, this map, where those are and where we try to be and interact. Next slide, please. Now, this is just a brief summary as examples of the kinds of science and technology focus areas that we're interested in. That's not all of them. And I will direct you to the lower right-hand side of that slide where it shows a link to our ONR website. And that's where you can find more details of the specific technical areas that we're interested in, the kinds of technical challenges we're trying to address. But this gives you an idea of how wide and broad our interests are and why we want to hear from you with your ideas. The ideas that you maybe thought about that may be high risk, didn't have any opportunity to try them out. That's what this challenge is all about, is to try to get those ideas and have you collaborate with your colleagues around the world who have a different discipline, perhaps. You want to look at it from a multidisciplinary approach, so you can combine and look at what innovations can happen. That's where we think the really true revolutionary advances can come by, and we want you to try those out. Next slide, please. We have various tools at ONR Global to help with that collaboration and connections that we try to do. Our science directors will visit locations. Well, we're doing it virtually now. Hopefully after the pandemic ends soon, we'll be able to start visiting again in person, and we'll go visit universities and laboratories, meet with and talk with researchers, all of you around the world, and to try to understand and see what kind of research you are doing and what is of interest for us. So we'll do those visits. We'll go to conferences and workshops to interact with the researchers and also see what's happening. What are those good ideas? We have an opportunity to when travel again opens up, we'll be able to send researchers from around the world back to the United States to interact with leading experts in your technical areas back in the Naval Research Enterprise and have a chance to begin collaborations there. As we're talking about the GlobalX Challenge, this is something that we've done now this is the second year we're doing it. Typically, throughout the years, we have research grants that usually run 3 years. This is where we can give seed grants, grant funding for international researchers to try out your good ideas that may take a little bit more time than what this challenge would actually allow for. But those research grants are available, and we look for those opportunities as well. And interacting with science directors is the best way to start that process. We also have here in London, where I am, we have the London Tech Bridge. It's kicked off last year, and the intent here is another mechanism for researchers, in particular in the UK, and to connect with researchers back in the US for the US Navy, Royal Navy interchange. And this is the first time we've done this tech bridge overseas, and we're seeing that there is quite a bit of benefit and increased collaboration. So these are our tools that we try to take advantage of. And as you get involved with ONR and ONR Global in particular, you'll find that these can be very helpful to progress through and to help push forward these great ideas that you have. Next slide, please. So I wanted to just briefly review what happened last year. Many of you may already be aware, last year was the first time we ever did a GlobalX challenge. We had allocated $750,000 that would go towards the best ideas and projects. The whole intent, again, for GlobalX Challenge is to come up with ideas that can be demonstrated, concepts that can be demonstrated within 9 months. And once that is demonstrated, we want to see if it's possible. It's not meant to do technology maturation and getting it ready for a product. It's really meant to explore great ideas and see what might happen. And typically those projects can be something where it's multidisciplinary, where you have maybe an idea that's basic research, fundamental research, combined with something that's more mature. And so if you combine these different disciplines, what you have is a new capability that we'd like to try out and have you try out and see what might happen. So we did that last year, and what ended up happening is we had 385 white papers came in, and with all these different ideas for those 9 months demonstration projects. And then of those, we've asked 11 to submit proposals. And from those proposals that came in, we actually awarded grants to 4 of those teams. And they comprised researchers from 6 different countries. And we ended up being able to fund over $1 million for those efforts. And so that has been very successful. Now, those teams are progressing, and unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions and not being able to get into laboratories, some of these teams have been delayed in being able to do their work and getting their 9 months demonstration, but they are making progress and should only be a few months delayed. this year, I hope we will not have that same problem. Next slide, please. Now, this is what we're kicking off for this year for the 2021 version of GlobalX Challenge. We're allocating at this point $500,000, and these topics are what you're showing here are the topics we're interested in this year. These are focused on polar region, polar science and technology. We're looking at high latitude. There are significant challenges that we want to address, both alternate navigation, high bandwidth communication in the high latitude, and persistent polar perception. So those are the topics that we're interested in. And we want you to come up with your ideas of what you might be able to demonstrate as a concept within 9 months. You can see on the right that these are the due dates that are showing for the white paper submission is just about a month away. And to get those ideas in, white papers are smaller draft proposals essentially that are 5 pages. We're asking for 5-page white papers, an additional page for a PowerPoint view of what you are proposing, as well as an attachment for a spreadsheet to give all the details of what the details about you and your team and which topic you're submitting under. I think probably many of you have questions, and I want to make sure that we can get to some of them, but don't worry, because we have the frequently asked questions that are posted on our GlobalX website, and you can still get to those. Those are from last year. I'll just mention that for the most part, those questions and answers would be the same as this year. The only difference being is the dollar amount is now a little less at 500,000, and the solicitation, of course, this year is for 2021. So the BAA is a different one, but for the most part, everything is the same, and the answers would be similar. We'll update those frequently asked questions here in the next couple of weeks and get those posted on the website. And with that, I'll turn it over to Felipe for some of his slides. Over to you, Felipe.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffries, and good morning, good afternoon, good night to everyone out there. Thank you for joining us. And as a reminder, you can send us your questions to the live chat box we have here, and we will address them at the end of the webinar. So how can you stay connected with us? Well, we have, as you can see in the slide, a website. It's a GlobalX website. The easiest way to access it, apart from the URL that it is there, is just typing ONR Global-X on Google, and the first page that appears is going to be the About page of the GlobalX website. What can you find there? Information about who we are, press releases, official guidelines, problem statements, important dates, facts, and contact information as well. So moving forward, how else can you stay connected with us? Well, we are pretty active in social media, so we encourage that you follow us on LinkedIn, that's ONR Global, and Instagram, ONR Global as well. We provide daily updates about GlobalX and about ONR Global, about our grants we sponsor all around the world, about how we connect with our stakeholders all around the world, and how we support international science. So we would like to open the floor now for your questions, and looking forward to that. Thank you very much. Dr. Jeffries, first question. Will the 500K funding be split approximately equally among the 3 topics this year, or could all the funding be spent on proposals from one topic area? Over.
Excellent question. And the answer is, it all depends. We can award the full $500,000 to one effort if we deem that the most important and most impressive revolutionary concept that's proposed, or we can spread it out among all the top proposals that are submitted in each of the 3 topics. I would like to add that I would hope that this would not be a limitation on what you propose. What we have found is that when an interesting idea, a truly game-changing idea is proposed, that funding is found. And so I recommend that you propose what you think is most needed to demonstrate the concept that you would like to demonstrate to show that capability, and then move from there. And I will add that, as we did last year, sometimes additional funding does become available, and so that allows more of the grants, the proposals, to be awarded. That is also something that is found, this answer is also found on the Frequently Asked Questions document. Thank you.
Another question, Dr. Jeffries, is it only unclassified?
Another good question. Yes, we are looking at unclassified research. The intent of a grant that we will award is to be public use, and so we intend as grants to award unclassified research that will be published. And all that's required when we award a grant is a final report. The concept demonstration will show the viability, the capability that you want to do, but subsequent something afterwards, if it's successful, we would expect that some other mechanism, acquisition mechanism, a contract, other transaction agreement, or something else could be awarded with other restrictions, or to move on to different kinds of research, maybe even classified. But that would not be done under a GlobalX, under this GlobalX challenge. Thank you.
For now, no further questions. Dr. Jeffries?
I wanted to add that we have the special notice is in the process of being posted to the ONR website and to grants.gov. You can see a draft of that on the GlobalX website, so you can see what will be released. The most important thing is we want to give you the time to start with generating your ideas and collaborating with your friends and colleagues around the world to be able to get those white paper ideas generated and submitted.
We have a few more questions, Dr. Jeffries. Sorry to interrupt.
Good. Thank you.
So, are collaborations between industry partners and academia welcomed?
Yes, in fact, they are. We welcome that, and we can give grants to either academia or industry.
Another question. What is the frequency band that the monitoring system should cover? Over.
Okay, I'm glad you're asking these kinds of questions. So in the solicitation, there will be technical points of contact that will, for each of the topics, and they will be able to address those specific kinds of technical questions. I will add that the intent of what we're looking for is not something that's been done before. If some research is already funded either by ONR or other U.S. agencies, or something that we may not, that is already being done or developed as a product, we're not really interested in something that's already existing. But we're really interested in what can be done that's new and game-changing that has yet to be done or shown as a concept. So when it gets to these specific kinds of questions, most likely it would potentially relate to a system that's already in existence. We're looking for something that's not in existence already, but what could be shown as a capability. Hopefully that answers that question. Thank you.
A new question. What is the technology readiness level required? Is basic research enough? Over.
Again, another good question. So we do not have a requirement for a technology readiness level. And as I mentioned before, oftentimes someone who has an idea in one discipline may be at the basic research level, but when working with a colleague with another discipline, may have already developed something that's more applied. And so you could potentially merge those two things together to provide a capability that has yet been demonstrated. So in my mind, and what we're looking for is really a multidisciplinary approach with a technology readiness level that may actually be quite broad and may span from both 6.1 up to potentially even 6.3, depending on what is being applied. Not completely but I would expect there would be a range that you would try out and that you would apply. Hopefully that answers that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffries. No further questions at the moment.
Okay. One thing that has popped into my mind that may be of interest, we are targeting the GlobalX challenge to international researchers. However, that does not mean that a U.S. researcher can't apply or participate. They certainly can. What we ask for is that the principal investigator, the PI of that project, come from an international university, and then anyone from the U.S. can team with that PI on that project. And we found that that was the case, in fact, from last year, and that there can be some really good, strong collaborations with these projects that come forward.
One more question here. I am fundamental research professor. Should I find myself partners, or could I submit a proposal and see further? Over.
It's ideal if you would be able to find the partners that you need for your idea. It's not, you can submit an idea as a single researcher, but we prefer to have multiple researchers and even multiple universities, at least 2 if possible, but it is not required. Thank you.
Thank you. One more question. When is the cutoff for asking the TPOC questions? Over.
Yeah, good question. I would say up to the time that you're submitting your white paper, feel free to ask them questions. After that point, and there'll be feedback that will be provided following your submission of your white papers. Once feedback has been given on the white papers, then proposals, there may be some questions that could still be answered by technical POC, but most of those questions should be then focused, or most of the effort should be focused on developing a proposal, and any of those questions that relate to the proposal writing should go to our business point of contact. At that point, if there is a need for more technical clarification, we can seek that out through our business point of contact, our grants officer, who will help get that answer from the technical POCs.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffries. A new question. Do we need a real pilot on the polar cycle of the proposed solution? Over.
I'm not sure. Can you say that again?
Yes.
A real pilot?
Yes. Do we need a real pilot on the polar cycle of the proposed solution?
Okay, so what I recommend you do, and each idea is going to have its own specific proposed concept demonstration. And what we're looking for, I should say, in the challenge is to demonstrate the concept viability. Not necessarily does not mean you have to actually do a hardware demonstration, although that might be possible. But demonstrate that the concept can be done in that 9 months. So if that is required, if a pilot is required to do that demonstration, then please propose that. But if there's another way to demonstrate the capability without having to have an actual pilot and go to the polar region, then that may also be just fine to demonstrate the viability. Keep in mind that we're looking for demonstration of the idea, not necessarily maturation of that technology to something that would be then incorporated into the Navy as a system capability. This is really looking at the seeds. What is it that we can show and can happen? Because there certainly is not enough time in 9 months to develop some new concept into something that can be mature enough to be placed into a fleet or to transition to a product. We are interested in dual use technologies, and that is one way, a viable way for, and eventually outside of the GlobalX challenge to transition these technologies, these innovative technologies, to both commercial and military use.
Thank you. You're asking if it's possible to share the slide again showing this year's challenge areas, so I will do just that.
And again, these descriptions are also found with more detail on the special notice on the GlobalX website, and I sent out an email a couple of days ago with more detail as well as an attachment on what those topics are, with the attributes that we're looking for, and potential disciplines, technology or science disciplines that could help address those attributes and attain those attributes, that capability.
Thank you. A new question. The call is pretty broad, and it seems like it could be applicable to multiple services, government organizations. Any chance there will be interest and funding from organizations in addition to the Navy? Over.
Absolutely. That is absolutely the case. In fact, I will say that the evaluators for the GlobalX Challenge will include not only U.S. Navy, but also other U.S. services and experts from the countries that have signed the International Cooperative Engagement and Partnership for Polar Research, ICE paper. And these are countries that include the U.S. and Canada, New Zealand, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland. I think I got them all. And so these experts will be evaluating these proposals. And if there are research efforts that show promise, it will be of interest likely for many of, if not all, of those ICE paper countries.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffries. No further questions at the moment.
Maybe I can elaborate a bit on that last answer as well. While we're focusing on polar region issues and technologies, those who want to put in ideas are not limited to those countries. Anyone in the world can submit these ideas and team with whoever you want in the world to be able to demonstrate this capability that you intend to do in the 9 months. It's really exciting. There's some great opportunities that come there, and we've had some tremendously innovative and creative ideas that came out of our white paper review from last year and our proposals, of course. And from that very effort, we found that sometimes those ideas that were submitted may not even be really right for the GlobalX challenge, because it really requires more technical development. Maybe it would be a basic research area and would be worth additional, 3 years worth of effort. And so in that case, we have contacted that researcher and asked that they submit a proposal through our normal, our traditional long-range BAA, which any of you can do at any time. And the idea is to bring out these ideas for the GlobalX Challenge, and we want you to do that specifically for the 9-month demonstration. But if some ideas take longer, we encourage you to submit those ideas to the normal long-range BAA so we can pursue that opportunity as well.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffries. Great questions by the audience. Thank you very much. No further questions at the moment.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us in our kickoff webcast for 2021 GlobalX Challenge. Look forward to interacting with you, seeing your great ideas. Again, please refer to the GlobalX website for the frequently asked questions if you have others. And please stay tuned for any day now for the release of the special notice, both on the ONR website as well as in grants.gov. And with that, we'll conclude this broadcast. Thank you again, and best wishes and success.